All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it, thank you. Introductory number 306 is amending the local improvement ordinance number 1758 relating to the operation and maintenance of neighborhood, commercial, and residential parking lots.
Move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. The last introductory is introductory number 327, amending the 2018-19 budget for year-end budget transfers. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Move it.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there any other business to come before the Finance Committee meeting? There is none. We are adjourned. Thank you.
At this time, I call the Neighborhood and Business Development Committee to order, and I ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Patterson.
Here.
Councilmember Harris.
Thank you.
Here. Councilmember Ortiz. Here. Vice President Lightfoot.
Present, ma'am.
President Scott.
Here.
Introductory number 307, authorizing sale of real estate. Do we have any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I need a motion and a second.
Make a motion.
All in favor? Aye. Item passes. Introductory number 308, authorizing appropriations and agreements for the Zombie and Vacant Property Remediation and Prevention Initiative Round 2. Questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, need a motion and a second. Got a motion, need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item passes. Introductory number 309, amending ordinance number 2018-263 with regard to street liaison program. Question, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, need a motion and a second.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item passes. Introductory number 310, amending ordinance number 2019-85 relating to a loan agreement for the Southeast Towers 2 Rehabilitation Project. Questions, comments, or concerns? Council member?
Thank you. Just one question about this. I think I understand from the responses you all gave, but is this going to be something, it has to do with some IRS changes. Is this going to be something that we're going to be starting to give out 50-year terms, generally speaking, or is it because of the particular size of this loan?
We think that it's a state initiative only to address those projects with a lot of pre-existing debt. So I don't think they're going to do it. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, obviously, to go out to a 50-year period, but for new projects, they don't have all that back debt that they've got to deal with. For rolling over old projects like Southeast Towers, it's probably going to be the state's practice to stretch them out.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this item? Seeing none, I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Item passes. Introductory number 311, authorizing the assumption of debt, amending of loan agreements, and payment in lieu of taxes for the St. Bernard's Affordable Senior Rental Project. Before we get to questions and comments, we actually need to amend the title of this legislation to authorizing loan agreements and payments in lieu of taxes, agreement for the St. Bernard's Affordable Senior Rental Development. So we need a motion and a second to amend, is that correct?
Second.
All right, so questions, comment, and I say aye, so the motion passes. So now, any questions, comments, or concerns on the item as amended? Seeing none, I need a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item passes. That completes the work of the Neighborhood and Business Development Committee. Thank you.
So, BJ, what time does the party start? Could we go at 5? 30 to 7. Meg's like, the gorgeous men on Sunday night. We both did Sunday night. Okay. So I'm gonna. I don't know if Ted can make the fitting. If we could schedule a different, let's see, in class night. We'll figure it out. When we go Tuesday. Oh, okay. Here's your size. They asked if I would do lingerie. Yes, absolutely. So I sent it back to one of the bankers. I'm sorry, you haven't filled it out. He didn't get it. I did not find it. I said, sure. I said, lingerie or something. I said, whatever you want. I can shake it. So Jackie's going to walk out. Trying to get. Can you come here a second, Caesar? Can you? No, okay, great. Honey, are you a veteran? Right.
I'd like to call the Parks and Public Works Committee, if the clerk could call the roll.
Councilmember Gruber?
Here.
Councilmember Evans?
Present.
Councilmember Spall?
Here.
Vice President Lightfoot?
Present, ma'am.
President Scott?
Here.
Introductory number 312, authorizing an agreement for the Campbell Street R Center Gateway. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If none, I'll take a motion. in a
So
sec-
moved?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Introductory number 313, authorizing an agreement for Genesee Valley Park Pool and Ice Rink upgrades. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Move it.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Introductory number 314, amending ordinance number 2018-273 relating to the Mortimer Street Bus Shelter relocation project. Before we have any questions about that, we'll have to do a motion to amend the map revision date from August 20, 2019 to August 29, 2019.
Motion to amend from August 20, 2019 to August 29, 2019.
Second?
Wonderful. Let's take a vote on the amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Amendment passes. So now we'll have to vote on the actual introductory number 314 as amended. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, then I need to take a motion again.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Introductory number 315, authorizing an agreement for an organics composting feasibility study. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Now introductory number 316, amending the municipal code with respect to bicycle riding and bike lanes. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, then I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes, and that concludes the business of the Parks and Public Works Committee.
Very efficient, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, we're gonna leave off the. Right, right. Mhm. Did I tell you when I watched the thing on TV, the budget hearing?
At this time, I want to call the Public Safety, Youth, and Recreation Committee to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Vice President Lightfoot.
Present.
Councilmember Gruber.
Here.
Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Ortiz. Here. President Scott.
Here.
Thank you. Introduction number 317, amending the 2019-20 Police Department budget and appropriating federal forfeiture funds to purchase vehicles. Any questions, comments, or concerns? I entertain a motion.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introductory passes. Introductory number 318, authorizing a grant agreement and budget amendment for the Child Passenger Safety Program. Any questions, comments, and/or concerns?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introductory passes. Introduction number 319, authorizing an intermunicipal agreement with the County of Monroe for explosive storage. Any questions, comments, and/or concerns?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introductory passes. Introductory number 320, amending the 2019-20 budget relating to the Gun-Involved Violence Elimination Grant. Any questions, comments, and/or concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introductory passes. Introductory number 321, authorizing a grant agreement and a budget amendment for the Flower City AmeriCorps program. Any questions, comments, and concerns? Councilmember Gruber.
Thank you. I see in the response that the retention rate is around 64%. I'm just wondering, has any sense if that's changed considerably over time?
We've always stayed on pace with what is happening across the state. I think it's also important to note that the population that we target you know, is not the traditional population for AmeriCorps, and so there's, you know, some additional attrition there, but we've always stayed on pace with this population.
And what about in terms of the actual number of applicants? Because actually, totally separately, you know, my other job at FoodLink, we have a number of national AmeriCorps programs that we're awarded slots, and we just can't even get applicants. Are you finding that to be an issue here as well?
We have had challenges with applicants. We have talked with the state. I'm sure other programs has as well with in regards to the amount of the stipend. And is that something that our funders would be able to increase to be more attractive to members? And you know, certainly they have not raised that yet, but they have taken our feedback into consideration.
And lastly, has there ever been, as far as you know, Commissioner, any major conversations with our CSD about trying to get graduating seniors who maybe don't know what's next in their life to join AmeriCorps? Has there been an actual recruitment pipeline that way?
There has not, but we have started conversations with them about career exploration for seniors. And so that's something that we're talking about with them now, but that has not been historically a part of our AmeriCorps program.
I think that'd be fantastic, because there's enough students in the district who this would be a very attractive opportunity if it's well known. So thank you for starting that.
Thank you, Councilmember Gruber. Commissioner, is there any other questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I entertain a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introductory passes. Introductory number 322, authorizing a license agreement for the use of space in the public market. Any questions, comments, and concerns? If not, I entertain a motion.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introductory passes. Introductory number 323, authorizing an agreement for the joint facility use of Clinton-Baden Community Center. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introductory 323 passes. Introduction number 324, authorizing intermunicipal agreement with the County of Monroe for the Rochester Monroe County Youth Bureau. Any questions, comments, and/or concerns? Need a motion?
Make a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introductory passes. Introductory 325, amending Municipal Code 47-4 relating to commercial dealing in firearms, ammunition, and explosives. Any questions, comments, and/or concerns? Councilmember Gruber.
So I see in the responses back to us that one of the potential concerns about making the barrier 1,000 feet, or the whatever the word I'm looking for is, the buffer of 1,000 feet, is because it may be too exclusionary. Is that a legal concern, or is that a practical concern? And so the Councilmember Patterson had asked a question if we could make the buffer 1,000 feet, and the answer is there's nothing legally prohibiting, but then it says later, however, 1,000 feet may prove to be too restrictive. Is there a concern that that may lead to like lawsuits or things of that nature? Is it a legal concern?
Well, that would constitute a de facto prohibition, because there are no properties that would qualify within 1,000 feet.
I see a couple of spots on the map. Doesn't that count? Not a chance that wouldn't hold up in court?
Yeah, you can't prohibit it by drafting a prohibition into the law without stating that it's a prohibition, and we don't have a basis to prohibit it. So obviously, we're trying to make it pretty difficult to do for public safety purposes. But I think, unless somebody corrects me, that we said 1,000 feet would prohibit it, there would be no qualifying property.
So the stance is that 500 feet is the most restrictive we can be while being kosher.
In our judgment, yes.
Gotcha. I see here.
So we looked at 1,000, we looked at 500. 500 is the next commonly used buffer in the zoning code. So that's why we went from 100 to 500. You're right, there are some slivers left in 1,000. Whether or not that would be cause for legal action, I guess we don't know. We felt pretty comfortable that the 500-foot buffer accomplished what we were trying to accomplish.
Thank you. I guess my last question, and it's probably not something anyone could answer at this point, is if other municipalities have taken measures. I mean, I'm assuming that right now, in particular with all the craziness we see in the world and a lot of cities being democratically controlled, there's probably some cities that are trying some even more aggressive measures to exclude guns and ammunition dealers within the city boundaries. Do we have any sense of what other folks have done that have been successful?
None that I am aware of. That did not come up in our conversations. It did internally, but we didn't do any research. Like Tim just referred to, I don't know that you can prohibit it. I don't think from a federal perspective you can prohibit it.
Sure. Thank you. But I fully support the measure. It sounds like this will be very helpful. I'm just wondering if there's a chance to be even more. Thank you.
I agree, also fully support, but I do have a question. Thank you, Councilman Brewer. The type, under the firearms licenses, first of all, I didn't realize we had these many people with the firearm license within our city. I see the location, but it also lists type. I notice there seems to be two different types, type 7 and type 6. What is the difference? And if you don't have the answer now, you can get it to me later.
Yeah, I don't have that answer. I'm not sure if anybody at
That's
RPD does. We can get you that answer, though.
That'd be great. Thank you so much. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introductory passes. Introduction number 326, authorize an intermunicipal agreement with the Rochester City School District related to school resource officers. Yes, Councilmember Evans.
Just a quick comment, because I got into a little tiff with somebody today who had a problem with police officers in school. So I think that it's important just to point out that school resource officers are not there to arrest kids. They're there being resources. So I asked for some data on arrests from 2018-19 school year, minimal. There were very minimal arrests. But a bright point I wanted to point out with this arrangement that we have with the school district in our SROs is that there were 2,200 mediations with positive outcomes. So I just want people to understand that at a time nationally when people are wanting to have school resources officers in their schools nationally, we have a model in Rochester here that's working. So they are not arresting kids. We have data that shows school by school numbers of arrests. Some schools have 0 arrests, and most of the interactions that our students are having with police officers in schools have been positive. And I think that needs to be celebrated, and I just want to reiterate that. They are not over arresting folks. The data proves that out. If anything, I think that it helps the police department because they're able to build relationships with students at that level, get them interested in the program. So I just want to dispel that myth. I felt as though I needed to say that. Obviously, I fully support this, but the data is very clear. It's available to anybody that wants to see it. There have been minimal arrests. I don't know how it was years ago, but this past school year, minimal arrests. And if anything, there's been more positive interactions with having the officers in the school.
I would agree with that, Councilman Evans, and I would also say as Chair of Public Safety, Youth and Recreation, I have not received not one complaint or comment concerning resource officers since my tenure here. So that is one thing that it definitely must be working because, again, I have not received any body saying anything negative about our SROs and our schools. So I would have to agree with you on that.
Could I add a comment?
Yes, Councilmember Small.
Thank you so much. So as Malik knows probably better than any of us, a lot of what does happen then gets immediately referred to teen court. So even when there is something going on, in lieu of an arrest, you're going to have an opportunity. So teen court, which is usually working with a young person who has been arrested, is at another whole level, working with probation, working with alternatives to suspension, and we're seeing kids before the arrest is made. So this was a program actually that was started here at City Hall. Malik was one of our first young lawyers. Look how far he's come. It's great. But honestly, it is a model, and we need to, we're so busy that we don't celebrate some of our really good initiatives, but that's another way for young people who have done something they need to take responsibility for. It's a sentencing court, but they then are not going to end up having to serve a minute or have any kind of, because they're youthful offenders. So I fully support this as well. Thank you.
Any other council members have any questions, comments, concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introductory passes. If there is no other further business to come before the Public Safety, Youth, and Recreation Committee, we are adjourned.
And we will move directly into arts and culture and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Spall,
Here.
Councilmember Clifford. Here. Councilmember Patterson. Vice President Lightfoot.
Present, ma'am.
President Scott.
Here.
Thank you. Introductory number 328, authorizing an agreement for design and fabrication of a mobile I Love Rock sign. There were a bunch of questions, and you guys have answered them, and I see our two fabulous people from Special Events Communications here. We didn't have any information, so we asked for photos, we asked for designs, we asked for why. Some in our agenda review or our committee meeting, we all sort of had the same questions. You've answered them for us. Maybe you'll take a minute and tell us where this came from and why you want to do it and all that. And I think people are also concerned about where it might be stored. So should we have you guys just give us an overview before we answer any other questions people have here? Mayor, would you like to start?
Sure.
Okay.
It came from a visit that we made to Albany where we saw an I Love New York sign.
Okay.
And we saw people taking pictures next to it.
Okay.
And, posing in front of it. And we have a lot of different events that happen in the city of Rochester. This week we have the French Festival going on. And we recognize that this is something that we should be proud of. Our city is something that we can be proud of. And so we wanted to have a I Heart Rock sign to be able to go around to different events, Park Avenue Festival, Cornhill Festival, every festival that we can possibly have it at, and so that they can take pictures, promote it, have a hashtag to promote positive energy and positive events in our city. And more people are getting the city logo tattooed and other things like that. And so this is just a way to highlight the positive things that are happening in our city. And we wanted to purchase this to see if people would gravitate to it at different events to make sure that they understand that we're proud of the Rochester and we love our city.
Great, thank you. I think at one point it looked like it was coming out of the Holiday Village, but that's not,
No,
it's just with the timing of it? Okay.
it's going
so
to be probably ready
by
for
then,
the
okay.
Holiday Village.
So I think that was my initial questions, like, wow, I don't think we're giving the holiday visit people that much money. Now we're adding this expense. So the utilization, I think Malik and others had questions. I'll open it up to council. Was a lot more about, what's the lifespan, where is it going to be, and you've answered some of that. So are there any other questions or comments
I have
from?
a comment.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think this is great. As the young people say, I think it's dope. When I went to NLC, my first conference at NLC, they have one. I love NLC, and I remember just running in front of it and taking a picture, just because it was cool. So I think it's a good idea. I think it's a great way of building, that love for our city. And I'm one of the ones that's old enough to remember the I Love New York little patches and stuff that used to go around and used to see. I remember almost everybody had them on their refrigerator. And I think it's really cool. I'd like to see it expanded to maybe some magnets and different things of that nature that not only could people take pictures, but maybe they could take something with them as well. That they could put on their refrigerator or something that reminds them that the pride that we have in our community, especially when we're seeing so many negative reports about Rochester. I think that this is a good way to build community pride, and I commend you guys for putting it together.
Thank you. Councilmember Gruber.
I just have a comment and a question. Is the design, I guess it's two questions. Is the design done? Is this the final design?
No,
Mayor, I can speak to that. No, Councilman, we haven't, this is really just a preliminary rendering because you haven't authorized the actual design and construction. So we wanted to give you a very rough example of how it'll look. As I look at the renderings myself, obviously there's work to be done to make it look as cool as some of the final products we shared with you.
Right.
And that's certainly the work we'll do, and the intent will be it'll look much it'll look doper, I guess, to use Councilman Lightfoot's term.
Well, I'm probably the least likely person to give any design advice, and it's certainly not what's intended here. But I would just echo what the mayor said in terms of the real value of the Flower City logo. It's something that people really gravitate towards in this community, and I would love to see it incorporated somehow into the final design. And then my only other question, I suppose, is this going to be something at all these different festivals we have, will it be something that the city essentially rents out to the festival promoters or organizers, or will we bring it ourselves to these places?
It will be owned by the city, and we will bring it ourselves and
Gotcha.
set it up ourselves.
Thanks.
And where will we store it? Maybe it's not that big. I don't know, it looks big.
It will be big.
It'll be big. And so we just have like garages. Norm's gone, but we probably have a garage we can put it in.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Can I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second. And all in favor?
Aye.
And I say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0, and that is it for this committee.
It's a true testament to how someone can go throughout their career in the city of Rochester. And we want this to be an example for our other employees, that you can start at entry-level positions and move your way up, and people are watching you and they're looking at you, and they will admire your work and be able to move you from lower positions to managerial positions, and maybe possibly one day into being the commissioner of the department. This administration have a number of people that have done that, and we appreciate people wanting to be in public service and their service to our city for those many years. So I present to you Gary Kirkmeyer for confirmation.
Mr. Kirkmeyer, would you like to make an opening statement?
Sure. Thank you, President Scott. First, let me thank the mayor for her trust and support, deputy mayor for his support. I want to thank council for all these years, the working relationship I've had with each of you, some of you for many more years than others, but I've appreciated that, and I look forward to answering any questions you have.
First off, I want to say, Mr. Kirkmeyer, Gary, I've admired your work for years, going back to your work with lead poisoning and the lead paint issue in the city. Can you? I think that the city has had a great model in terms of engagement as it relates to with the 2034 plan. The engagement in the community has been great. Like, no one can say they didn't know that we had a 2034 plan, because we were begging people for information. Even before I got on council, I remember filling out the survey, and I think that each portion of the community, all segments, feel as though they contributed to that plan, that they had a chance to be involved in it. So my question is how do you see engagement in your area? How can we replicate that engagement that we had? There's been other things too, but I think the 2034 plan is a prime example, because I think people felt as though they had their say. They felt as though they weighed in. They were a part of that. How can we do that when it may be something that might be a tougher issue, or things that might be tough? How can we make sure that even if someone doesn't like a decision, they feel as though they kind of had their say? What's going to be your approach to that?
So let me start with, I lived that engagement on different levels, as my significant other spent the greater part of many months at meetings. NBD is a public-facing department. No one's touching the people that we touch. There's a lot of other public-facing departments, but we are public-facing. Every element, every aspect of what we do. And we try to lead that effort through our neighborhood service center structure, of course, who are our liaisons to points of contact throughout the city. I've got some ideas on how to even, step that up a bit. But, you can't shy away from it. There's controversy, conflict, and differences of opinion, and we live that every day. Sometimes there's 100 people in the room with that conversation, and sometimes there's one. People don't always agree. And, we're having to tell people no every day. Every element and every person in MBD is in that kind of position to navigate through those difficult conversations. So, you know, we take a great deal of pride, first and foremost, in customer service. And, you know, when we look at our satisfaction surveys, even through our CFO process, you know, we hear about, I don't like paying the fee, or I didn't like having a lead test, but you never hear about, and I read them all, you never hear about how they were treated poorly. So they rave about how people treated them and throughout the process, and, you know, we need to do more of that, right? So all of our processes need to have satisfaction surveys attached to them. Not so much to judge how we're treating, because we know we're gonna know if we're not treating people right. You're gonna know, we're gonna know, the mayor's gonna know. But we wanna know how people feel about process and where they think the pain points are and stuff. So it's an ongoing effort. We're always doing it. We feel like we're pretty good at it, but we can always get better for sure.
And you know, I know one of the, you don't have to give it could be just your quick thoughts, 'cause I don't want to monopolize the time. I know zoning has always been a lot of conversations in terms of, there's areas of the city where we need to rewrite the zoning to make it more flexible, more nimble. The 2034 plan talks about that. What are your plans in terms of that, that process in that area as it relates specifically in neighborhoods, I think, where stuff just might be just not zoned correctly and has been that way for 50 years. How can we do that while at the same time protecting residents and maybe possibly attracting different types of investments that we can get on the tax roll that will help us from an economic standpoint in the city?
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
So, I mean, we're led by our comprehensive plan, right? Once it's fully adopted in a final draft or final document, that sheds a lot of light on where we should go as a city with our zoning code and our zoning map. That doesn't mean the difficult conversations are over with. You all know, just like we all know, that there's some pain points there. But we are a different city than we were in 2003 when we adopted the last code. I like to think, based on the statistics that we have, that we're a growing city, and we have to act in accordance with that when we can reconstruct the code. We got to be clear with our priorities and where we want to have process lengthy, and then we need to stop worrying about the small stuff where that's an obstacle and an unnecessary obstacle to progress. We feel pretty good about where we feel it should be, but it's about engaging the public again. It's not gonna be wholeheartedly accepted. There's some people that aren't about density and don't think that that's a way to go, but you can look at city after city. People are talking about density. They're talking about using the limited land space they have. They're talking about inclusion. They're talking about smaller units. They're talking about using the land more constructively for a variety of reasons to attract a variety of people. And we have some ideas on how to get there, but you all are gonna have to help us get there with adoption of a zoning code that is not gonna be 100% accepted by all.
Thank you, and I look forward to supporting you. Thank you.
Madam President, I just have a comment, Gary. I just had a few cases recently. I just wanted to commend you on the work that you're doing thus far, and I look forward to working with you. That customer service that you're talking about starts from the top down, and I can see why you have such great customer service within your department, because just in the few cases we worked on together recently, your responsiveness was amazing. You got back very quickly to me, to the constituent that had the issue, developer that we had here in town. You met with us several times. You came on site yourself. And so that was very impressive to myself and to the developer that, you know, again, you not only you embody the customer service yourself. So I just wanted to commend you for that. I look forward to working with you. Congratulations. And look forward to working with you more in the future.
I appreciate that, and you're right. You've got to lead by example. You know, people need to feed off of their leader, and they need to see the energy and the commitment that you have to demonstrate very clearly how to handle situations.
Councilmember Spo.
Thank you. So I have very mixed feelings about this, you know, because I want to know if I'm still going to hear from you within 5 minutes at 6:45 multiple times a week. Seriously, I can't, and I totally agree with Vice President Lightfoot. The way you respond, first of all, it's not just that you're prompt and quick and nimble and up early, which I appreciate, but you have a comprehensiveness, and more than anything, my experience with you is an enormous amount of fairness. And I think that's the mark of what we need to do, because people are not going to agree with us. People are not going to like a decision that changes their backyard or their front yard or whatever. And I think we can only say we were fair. We listened to everybody. We opened the doors. We were inclusive. We knew what we had to do. But there's a depth of knowledge and experience that you bring. I want to know how you're going to. I'm only here for 3 months. So I think you're going to be okay with me. But honestly, you have to find a way to transfer that depth of knowledge and that responsiveness to a team. And I'm looking at some of your team, and they have it too, for sure. You know, Margarita's here and Dana. I mean, these folks know what they have to do. But it really is, you've been a fine example at every level, and this is exactly where you should be, Gary. So congratulations, and I'll try not to annoy you in 3 months, but I can't promise. But you do have to train those beneath you and model, because what you have is very unique. It's a breadth of knowledge, of fairness, and a way to articulate the code and everything else. So that comes from years of experience. So congratulations, obviously, but I don't know if you have a plan for management training or how you're going to take all that wisdom and spread it further.
Yes, we absolutely do. We've been doing that for a number of years. You know, my number one objective, you know, we serve the mayor's agenda because we got to push this city forward. But second to that is I want to leave this position so that the next person can be successful and take it even further, right? And so, and that's not just my position, that's the position I formerly had, the one I had before that, and so on and so forth, the position Dana has. And so, you know, we are working towards that. We have some succession planning. The city as a whole is working on succession planning. So, it's hard to learn the depth of that without practice. You know, you have to, the one thing that we do, number one, we talk about reasonableness. You know, we use the word reasonableness. If at the end of the day your conversation can be interpreted to be reasonable, then, you know, then we've done what we can. And then beyond that, it's people, you don't learn this stuff in 8 hours. You just don't. I mean, that's the honest truth is I learned what I learned because I spent many more than 8 hours a day doing it. And so, you know, we have some passionate young leaders to be that we are, you know, recognizing and fostering and helping grow. And we're going to continue to do that because we have some pretty good leaders that are even some of our younger hires.
Councilmember Ortiz.
Great, thank you. Well, I echo many of the things that council members have said. I also feel great working relationship, and I've always appreciated you having an open door policy, if you will, with getting together and discussing issues and responding. So clearly you're doing that with everyone because you know, everyone has that experience with you, which is great. One of the questions that I had when I'm reading through some of the material that had come back regarding references and other people's thoughts and stuff, I was just, when I read it, I was like, you know, good question because of your background, right? So I'm just curious as to your thoughts on it. One of the comments that came back and said, Gary absolutely has strengths in regulation. But think we can definitely learn some of the other areas around project development, housing, so on, from that perspective. Just curious about, you know, your thoughts on what your strength obviously really is, and being able to develop the other side of what NBD is. So I'm just, your thoughts on that and kind of how you think that you want to approach that whole thing, or maybe you do think you're great. I don't know.
No.
But
I'm confident.
You know,
I'm confident.
right?
But we don't use the term great.
You know, strength regulation, but there's project development, housing, all those things that have to come together, the packages
Right.
that, you know, all that.
So let me start by saying, and let's not forget this anytime soon, NBD is 3 departments, okay? Always has been and always will be. It's one, but it is made up of 3. And the broad-based knowledge that you have to have is so extreme. It's so extreme. You know, you go from a meeting where you're trying to bring 200 jobs here to a meeting where a developer needs $1 million, and in between, somebody's emailing the mayor about spider infestation. So, you know, all of those subjects. No, it's all of those subjects. So, yeah, I've got about 80% of the department knowledge base that I believe I am, you know, one of the expert knowledgeable persons on. But I have spent a great deal of time since August diving into the other areas. You know, I know enough about our processes to know there are some things that we need to do. You know, when we reconstructed the department, there were some intended purposes and goals that were initially met, but 10 years later probably don't support the best, most efficient structure. We already recognize that, and we're, you know, collectively looking at how we can fix that rather quickly in a budget-neutral way. But aside from that, no, I know where my strengths and weaknesses are, and I've been meeting with staff on the other side of that table, and been spending most of my time in those conversations over the last, you know, month or so.
Okay, wonderful. I guess one of the other things, and kind of talked a little bit about it in terms of that engagement, if you will, and really maybe some, I don't know, different approaches or ideas that you may have in terms of how we continue to improve, you know, getting out to the community. Again, you know, we're always faced with these decisions that we have to make that, again, like you said, we're never going to make everyone happy, but when we continue to hear that there's still room for improvement for that input portion, for that, you know, feedback session, for all of those things, how you may approach something like that a little bit more innovatively, different, whatever it might be, because for some reason it still seems to be an issue for us as a whole when it comes to projects, if you will. So I'm just curious your thoughts on how we might approach that a little bit differently, or just maybe, I don't know,
well,
thoughts on that.
Yeah, let me start by saying, I mean, I engage with a lot of other cities on a lot of different topics nationally. I don't know anybody that goes to the extent that we do to engage the public, quite frankly. And again, there's no perfect system or process, and everything can be enhanced. You are always going to have situations where there's controversy and conflict in our business. And the most we can do is make sure people are aware that there's a community engagement opportunity. We can't bring the horse to the water. We can't, you know what I mean? So we can only deal with the hand that we have. And yeah, I think we can do some sharpening of that. But at the end of the day, you've got to care enough when you first get invited, not when it comes on the council, you know, agenda. That's kind of way into the process. And being good stewards of the process does not avail us an opportunity to stop because we're serving somebody. So, you know, we're going to do our best to get the word out early and often to you all and to the public, and engage everybody that wants to be engaged, and take in the comments and try to make adjustments to projects that coincide with what their interests are, to the extent that it's reasonable. Sometimes it's not reasonable for us and or the developer. But, you know, I don't think we're ever going to not have some of those issues, unfortunately, just because of the nature of the business we're in. It's, you know, it's disrupting people's lives. It's changing their neighborhoods. And not everybody's always going to agree with that change. But, yeah, we'll do our best to make sure that people are advised early on in the process, and you all as well, and see, you know, do the best job we can.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
I've had an opportunity to work with you through the Neighborhood Business Development Department as a member of the 19th Ward Community Association, and it's been great. You've always done a good job with communication and making sure that, you know, you stay on top of things, and I'm looking forward to working with you, and congratulations.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Councilmember Gruber.
Thanks. I won't throw more accolades at you, Gary. You've got enough of them already. No, I echo what the mayor said. I think it's a great point that it's this also really solidifies you as a role model for the entire city hall body, which I think is a really important thing. And all the work you've done over the years to grow personally is tremendous. No one would deny your expertise locally, regionally, nationally on the things that you know very well. And you talked about there maybe being a 20% gap of things you need to learn about. But when I think about NBD, I think there's two really important things that are happening right now in front of us. One we've already talked about with the comp plan, which you've been engaged with in a variety of ways. The other seems to be the changes in Redco, and what's going to be happening with the city being a little bit more aggressive in terms of an economic development entity itself. What is your, first of all, what's your sense of what your role is in that, and what is your sense for how the city's going to move forward in that regard?
I think it's a work in progress. I think we're still in the assessing, evaluation, creating, developing stage. We've been meeting, both with the mayor, deputy mayor, and Bea to talk about, how that moves forward, how it evolves. We're trying to engage some external experience in that respect for consultation. No transition is easy, but we're still creating that. We're still trying to develop how that's going to look like. So it's kind of early to forecast that. It's not, it's my role in that is not as large as Bea's, for example. So it's going to be a collective effort, and we're going to whatever it comes out with, it's going to be to better serve the city and the businesses and the trying to get businesses here. So it is going to definitely enhance the way we operate. How it comes to be and what the time frame of whatever strategy that's developed, that's yet to be defined.
Okay. And then my only other question is in terms of the president's meeting. Do you it's monthly, I presume, where you meeting with all the neighborhood presidents? Is that something that you anticipate making any changes to that? We've heard a number of kind of questions and concerns about the utility of those meetings over the years, over at least my 2 years here on council. I think some of what you're describing in a way is that some things are probably never going to be perfect, and we need to continue to try the best we can. But I'm just curious, do you imagine any major changes to the format or the frequency of those meetings?
I do not. I will engage that population because, we have to have productive meetings. And so we can have conflict and we can have debate and discussion and disagreement, but we have to have productivity. So, we want to educate people, and, that's a group that represents themselves as representing others. And so it's easy to get with a smaller group to get messages to a larger group. So there's definitely opportunity to keep doing that and for that to have value. But I've also seen how some of the meetings have went. And, we're trying to keep people engaged. So, you can bring debate and discussion to that, but we still have to have some productivity coming out of it. You have to tell us what you want to know, and we're going to engage on it, right? So it's really, it's an ideal situation to set up for them to tell us what subjects we want to talk about, but it's not a forum to debate something that's passed, right?
Councilmember Clifford.
Thank you. This sounds like it's going to be a real squeaker, this confirmation vote. So I don't know how this is going to go. But Gary, I can't say enough about my time working with you, and I enjoyed it. I learned a lot. Thank you for teaching me a lot of stuff I'd never wanted to know about code enforcement. Really appreciate that. And I think it's absolutely true. And when you talked about the reasonability, that's one thing that I've always appreciated about your approach is, if we can do something, let's do it. If we can't do it, let's tell people why we can't do it. And generally, not everybody, but generally people are reasonably accepting of that. So I look forward to your leadership continuing in that vein. I guess for me too, I see this as a real opportunity for a neighborhood relationship reset. And I hope that's the way that you will look at it too, is that you're new, Dana's still fairly new, that it's a good opportunity to say, whatever happened in the past, let's not go back and talk about all of that. Let's talk about how we're going to move forward. And I think that people will really appreciate that and, hopefully really take that to heart. So that obviously is a statement. But can I ask you about sort of your priorities over the first year? I know you have some, because
Oh, yes.
pretty goal-driven, yes.
So, getting back to what I said earlier about the department and some of the ways the department was structured with an intention of 2009 that doesn't quite fit 2019. I personally am not a proponent of disjointed process. It's challenging enough in our department that, we have to rely on external departments, and we try to keep those lines of communication really good and productive, and so that people understand the timeliness of our expectations and process, because people are expecting of us, and we're holding the bag. We're the one talking to the customer, touching the customer. So, but we have to start internally, and I think there's some ways that we can enhance our processes internally just by tweaking the structure slightly. I will tell you that, as somebody that has that 80% knowledge base of a very large subject department, that if we really want to set somebody up for future success, there's a flaw in the structure. And I think in consultation with the mayor and the deputy mayor, I think I have a budget neutral way to fix that. So it's, it's that first. Clean your house first, make sure that we're all we can be and our processes are as efficient as they can be, and then, start to look at pain points that we don't have direct control of, because everybody wants to quickly point to the ones that we don't control, but we have to start with what we do control, and I think there's some really quick fixes to that year one. Year two is mostly about continuing that drain the brain, transfer of knowledge, and getting people and younger leaders through leadership training, and energizing people to want to be all they can be sooner than later.
I guess I will wait and see what all of that means, because it sounds exciting. One of the things that I know we've been talking about on council, and I know is also of interest to you, and I think we've talked about engaging more on this, is the issue of corner stores and what to do about them, and the fact that they're so difficult to deal with and people really dislike them. So I guess I just wanted to throw that out there to see if you had any thoughts about that. Obviously, zoning's coming around the bend, but I think we've learned some tough lessons there as well. So you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, as a city, it's like the Family Dollar saga, right? We can stop that if we can encourage others to participate, right? So if we can get a real grocer, then we don't need a corner store. So, we are focused on that right now. That's been a struggle for our city. I don't know what the answer is. We're going to need a lot of people to help participate in that conversation, but that's one way. I know that the administrators and the service centers have some proposals for the business permit process to get, the food stores back in the equation that we'll be talking about relatively soon. In consultation with law, we know what we had and the issue we had with the changes before in the zoning code, but this is something that is supported by law, so I think we'll be talking about that around the corner. But it's really about what kind of businesses can we attract to our neighborhoods, to our food deserts. What can we get downtown, and it's exciting because of all the development, and it's exciting the opportunities before us. I mean, it's really why this is a tremendously interesting job, because the city's doing really well, and a lot of people don't get to see that. But I mean, you look at our permit numbers, they're through the roof. There's just crazy development going on, and it has been going on for many years. So, we got to get the zoning code to coincide with that, to foster growth, and we've got to get the map to match that so people aren't inconvenienced by unnecessary process. And I don't mean everybody should be bypassing process, but where it is believed to be unnecessary because of our goals and what we want to see. And then, trying to, where you have the right dynamics, trying to encourage somebody to step up and be an example that others can follow on the food store end.
That's really the hope. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Gary, what do you see as your greatest challenge during your first year in particular?
It's getting all of that stuff in line first. So, I mean, you could say it's keeping up with everything I don't know and I'm learning on the run here, but to me, those are more time-consuming inconveniences. It's really about trying to get some time to proactively reconstruct and reassemble and reposition people to be successful in our department. And one of the challenges I'm sure every department head is suffering with is it's really hard to find time to do that. We're running, so it's really hard to find time to do that, right? So we've got to start with allocating a proper amount of time to do that. We have a general sense for how to do it and what needs to be done, but I intend to do it and get it done in short order so that we can position ourselves to that not be an issue. Processes are not an issue anymore. Now we can focus more on, serving people at a higher level.
What kind of customer service feedback protocol do you have on the first floor in particular?
So from buildings and zoning, we instituted customer service satisfaction surveys in both our C of O process and our permitting processes. That's been happening since 2010, I think. And we report that as a KPI. It's been crazy successful. I mean, I can't tell you, not everybody submits one, right? You get a small population. We do 4,000 C of Os a year. If you get a couple hundred responses, that's what you're going to get. But people generally respond when they're passionate one way or another. Mm-hmm. They're passionately pleased or they're passionately displeased. And, 90%, 85%, 95%. I mean, that's unheard of. And when we go and engage on a national level with the term code enforcement, no one's doing satisfaction surveys in code enforcement. No one. Because we're not selectively choosing who gets it. Everyone that gets a C of O gets it. So 4,000 C of Os, somebody's getting ticketed there, right? So some portion of those 4,000, even if we're at 88% voluntary compliance rate, 12% of those people got ticketed, and they're still responding positively. So it starts there, and we got to broaden that across the department.
What do you think about the sort of programmatic support that we had a while back for neighborhoods, that we actually had staff that was helping neighborhoods to organize and get things done and interact with us? Now, I don't think we have anything quite like that. But have you thought about that? Because we do often get a lot of dissension between the various groups and the presidents and this and that. But I'm wondering if you've considered ways that we could smooth that over better.
Well, one of the ways is use the structure we have to strengthen our service centers, right, is our point of contact with the community. And, we've got a couple of ways that we want to strengthen the service centers. It's a little premature to talk about it today, but within the next year, leading into next budget year, and giving people a reason to come there other than to complain, right? That's kind of what it starts with. They can come there for handicap permits now, but most of it is complaint driven. We want to give them other reasons to come to the service center. We can help you, or we can give you a grant, or so that kind of thing. I don't know if you're referring to NBN, but planning is dedicated to supporting any neighborhood that wants help in developing plans and things of that nature. So I think we have the support from planning to do that arm of it. I don't know that there's ever going to be a possibility to centralize or decentralize more staff beyond some of the things we're talking about now to do more. But, we'll look at it for sure.
Okay, thank you. If there are no additional questions, we have introduce a motion to adopt introductory. I'm sorry.
So move.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, motion carries 9-0. Thank you. We stand Adjourn. Yeah.